Prostate cancer. When you look up on the internet, most of the guys you see are in their late to mid 60s. I'm not. I turned 50 in May of 2011. This is my story. Hi, my name is Doug. When a guy turns 50, there are certain tests that you need to take. Well, when it came time for my checkup, I went in there and asked the doc. I said, "Hey doc," I said, "I'm 50 now." He said, "Yeah." I said, "I heard at the radio that there was a store that was giving away free prostate checks." I said, "What do? They drop their pants right there in the store and get the exam?" He just kind of laughed. He says, "No." He said, "It's a blood test." I said, "Well, all right." I said, "Well, you're drawing the blood for my diabetes. Why don't we just go ahead and check for the prostate?" He said, "That's fine. We can do that." So he did. With type 2 diabetes, it's no big deal. I'm always in there getting stuck with pins. So I went home, and I got a phone call from the doctor. He says, "It's not good." I said, "What's not good?" He said, "Well, your PSA level is high." I said, "What's high?" He said, "We don't want it over 4. I said, "Well, what's mine?" He said, "Yours is a 16.5. Like, whoa, what does that mean? He says, "That means that I need to send you over to a specialist and have them check you out." I said, "All right, go ahead and set it up and we'll do that." So he set me up with this specialist. So I go over to him and, right off the bat, the doctor kind of did his first initial exam, said, "Yeah." He said, "You've got cancer." And I'm like, whoa. He says, "We're going to do a biopsy on you." I says, "Okay, what's a biopsy?" Well, you look it up on the internet. It's not fun. So I'm laying there on the table and got my back to the side and kind of laying there, and then the exam goes on. Oh, let me tell you, if you've never had a biopsy, it's not fun. So as the doctor was walking out the door, I said, "Hey doc," I says, "I'm married." I said, "What about intercourse?" He said, "You need to at least wait a week." I said, "Okay." So we went home, and later on that night, it was like, got to go to the bathroom. I was putting it off because I knew that they said that there would be a little bit of blood. Oh man, was there some blood. It just kind of came out crazy. It made me sick. I about hit the floor. But I knew that was part of the test. So I go home and I wait a little bit. A couple of days later, the phone call I get took me to my knees. He said, "Hey, it's the doctor." He says, "Remember I told you in the exam room that you've got cancer?" Well, it's true. He said, "With this test that we did, on a Gleason score of 2 to 10, 10 being high, he said, you're an 8. I said, "Whoa." I said, "What does that mean?" He says, like I said, "You've got cancer." He said, "Here's your options." He said, "One, you can go on the internet, look it up, and get back with me." So I went home that night, looked on the internet, and oh man, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's this proton therapy, there's radiation, there's freezing it, there's even this pills that you can take. But I had to examine everything. So there late at night, I'm kind of going through things, the different procedures, the surgery operation, and I kind of knew if I was going to surgery, which way I was going to go. So when it came time for the doctor's visit, I went in and I said, "Hey doc," I says, "What are we going to do?" He says, "Well," he says, "we could try radiation, but," he says, "with yours being aggressive," he said, "it's probably too late for that." He says, "You need to have it removed." So I says, "Okay." I says, "How are you going to remove it?" He says, "Well, I'll just cut you from one end to the other and just kind of go in there and cut it out." Yeah, see my wife. She says, I came out of my chair. She says she thought I was going to hit the guy. Because, he told me to get on the internet and search it. Well, I did. And that's kind of the old school. So I just kind of listened to him. He says, you'll need to give blood. He says, you'll need to go down and give a couple of pints of it. He says, because you will lose some blood. You'll be off for a while. So I'm like, "Okay, doc." I said, "When do I have to do this?" He said, "You need to do it at least before December." I said, "December?" He said, "Yeah." He says, "With yours being aggressive," he said that it needs to come out right away. So I left the doctor's office. I went to see my family doctor. I said, "Doc," I says, "I don't like this." I says, "I need another opinion." I says, "You need to hook me up with somebody." He says, "Okay, we can do that." So they sent me uptown to the big city, and we met with another doctor, and kind of felt comfortable with the guy. So he says, "Well, looking at all your charts," he said, "Yes, you need to have come out." I says, you can tell all this by the charts. He said, well, you've had a bone scan, and it didn't show anything, but it stayed right there in your prostate. The CT scan showed the same thing, that it stayed there. And he said the chest x-ray showed that your chest is clear. He said, but the only thing is this Gleason score of an 8 is pretty high. He said, that's aggressive. He says, you know, it's in your front apex. And I'm like, well, that's in the front here, isn't it? And he says, no. He says, basically you take like a pyramid, turn it upside down, and it's the point pointing down. It's like, okay. He says, I says, what should we do? He says, well, as a surgeon, you know, I say you need to have it removed. But he said, you're here for a second opinion, aren't you? And I said, yeah. He said, I would check into radiation. He said, radiation, it might help you. He says, just take a look at it and see. So I started talking a little bit more to him, and I said, you know, how would you do it? He said, well, what we've got is this Da Vinci robotic arm. And he says, what it does is we'll make 5 little cuts in you, and we'll stick these cameras in and these little robotic arms, and we'll remove it. He says, this way here we can magnify things and see around your nerves. And he says, that way, you know, you'll still have some of your main functions. He says, it may be slow going at first, but he said, you know, you should get it all back. So I started checking out some more things on the internet. I found me a proton treatment. I went and talked to this person, and she said, well, just kind of looking at your chart, she says, yeah, I agree with him. She said, you know, you need to have it removed. She said, but let me go talk to somebody. So I guess she went to go call somebody about a radiation treatment, and she came back and she said, you know what? She says, I just ran into my boss, and he said that this proton treatment will help you. She said, it'll take care of it. I said, okay, so what does that mean? She goes, well, what you'll do is you'll come in for 5 days a week for about 8 weeks, and then you'll have these hormone treatments. I'm like, what kind of hormone treatments? He said, well, it's a female hormone. I said, won't that kill everything? She goes, yeah. She says, your sex life will pretty well end. It's like, whoa, I can't do that. You know, I'm 50 years old. You know, I'm still in my prime. You know, I still like it every once in a while, you know. But that kind of scared me. So I went back to my other doctor, and I said, Doc, I says, looking over everything, checking out everything, I need to go ahead and have it removed. He said, well, while you were gone, he said, my father, you know, he said he has prostate cancer. And it's slow growing, but they're monitoring it all the time. And it'll probably have to come out. He said, but my brother scores jumped. He said, we just took it out last week. He said, he's doing fine, recovering really good. He says, you know, with my father having it, my brother's got it. He says, I'll get it sooner or later. And I says, well, what do you recommend? We mentioned that robotic Da Vinci arm. So we sat down and talked a little bit more about it, and we figured that would be the best way to go. Well, since then, October came around. We got everything scheduled, and we're going to have to go in and do these pre-lab works to find out what's going on. You know, at the age of 50, you know, we shouldn't be going through all this, but it's hereditary, I guess. These are things that you need to do, things you need to have checked out. So if you have any kids, you need to let them know. Family members, brothers, whatever, they all need to be checked out. Keep an eye on my blog here, and we'll see about getting some more information back to you guys. I kind of hope this helped, because like I said, when I was looking it up, everybody was in their 60s. You know, I'm in my, you know, I just turned 50. So it's really kind of bothered me. You know, you'll spend a lot of hours on the computer searching things. Search it all out and go with what you need to go with. Keep an eye out on this. Hope this helped out. There have been people that's been younger. I've heard about some cases of guys in their 40s. But keep in tune. Let's check this out, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you.